Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. Previously, a man was reincarnated as Shin, a boy raised in the woods by his legendary magician grandfather. Shin then goes to a magic academy to learn about the world and see just how much more powerful he is than everyone else. There, a powerful demonoid named Strom would take over an empire. Students at Shin's academy must then train in case they are needed for the war, and Shin shows his immense power. The story continues as Shin's study group fly around the sky and explain that Shin cast his floating spell on them so they could do so. Training is about to end as Og points out how their new magical gear will come in handy when they go to an upcoming ceremony being held at the kingdom. Elsewhere, Strom explains how every town and village in the empire has been destroyed. His plan to starve the commoners so that they would grow to resent the nobles went perfectly. Strom explains that demonizing the commoners caused them to slaughter the nobles, and that is how they were able to quickly destroy the empire. He then thanks all the Demonoids for their efforts and explains that he is unsure of what to do next as overthrowing the empire had been his one and only objective. Some Demonoids are upset since they want to simply continue taking over neighboring kingdoms, but Strom isn't interested at all in such tiring endeavors. Several Demonoids choose to go off on their own and Strom encourages them to. He once again explains how he only wanted to topple the empire, and his assistant wonders why he hated the empire so badly, especially since he was once in line to become emperor. Strom then explains what he was like before becoming a demonoid. Even though he was next in line to become emperor, Strom worked closely with the commoners to enrich the lives of those in the empire. He had once been asked why he treats the commoners with so much respect. Strom explained that he had grown up in a world where nobility got preferential treatment, but traveling as a boy changed his views on everything. Other countries had no slavery, and commoners lived a much better life than those at the empire, which made him realize that is how he wanted the future of the empire to be. While working late one night, Strom was interrupted by his pregnant wife, Arya, who expressed concern for his health. Strom assured her that he was fine and explains that the people need him. Elsewhere, the man who would eventually become the empire, named Harold, speaks with other dukes of the empire. They all express disdain for how people are choosing to move to Strom's territories instead of theirs. More concerning is how Strom is getting close to becoming emperor instead of them, and they are certain that Strom will implement policies favoring commoners. Harold assures them that he has a plan to stop Strom though, and asks that they keep Strom busy in the capital. Moments later, we see an excited Strom explain to Arya that he has been asked to attend a convention, as the other nobles would like to go along with his ideas that favor commoners. Arya is worried that they might be planning something bad, but Strom reminds her of how good he is with magic, as he is said to be one of the most prominent magicians in the empire. Elsewhere, a member of the military police force explains to some commoners that there have been a rash of kidnappings, and that the victims are being sold off as slaves. Elsewhere, we see that gossip has begun to spread about Strom being behind all the kidnappings. People begin to believe this since it would make sense as to why Strom is so nice to the commoners. At a hideout, the police officer from earlier laughs about how no one has found out that they aren't really officers, and he is told that they are doing everything to keep Strom at the capital. The police officer reveals that they have nearly discovered who the kidnapper is, and they will need civilian assistance to capture him. The fake officer then asks everyone to stop a wagon that he claims to be owned by Strom. He actually set this up and reveals to the commoners that slaves are being transported by this wagon. News quickly spreads that the rumors about Strom being the culprit behind the kidnappings are true. The commoners are outraged beyond control as they decide not to wait for the military and take things into their own hands. They bring torches to Strom's mansion and set it ablaze as the pregnant Arya is inside. Just then, Strom returns to his territory as he thinks about how he will see his beloved wife very soon, but notices that his mansion is on fire. Strom explains that when he arrived, it was already too late to stop the commoners from laying waste to his home, and he could only watch in shock as he finds his wife's corpse. He couldn't understand why the commoners would do such a thing, and they explained it's because they found out his secret. However, Strom points out that real military police would never ask commoners to accompany them. He quickly realized that he had been tricked and that Harold was the culprit. The commoners then begged for forgiveness as Strom realizes that the commoners he had sided with for years are actually foolish imbeciles, and denounces them along with the empire that allows nobles to do such evil things. Strom then begins to completely lose control as he vows to take revenge on every human in the empire. From the emperor to the nobility all the way down to the commoners, he promises to destroy everything. Afterwards, members of Strom's demonoid army think about how Strom had every right to seek revenge, but believe he now needs a new objective even if Strom doesn't think so. Zess tells the woman to join the group of demonoids that left the Empire, and instructs her to lead them in an effort to take the kingdom of Earlshide to force a certain person to come forward. He reveals that the person is Shin, and he is the perfect next objective for Strom since Shin once defeated him. At the kingdom, a ceremony is being held for Og when it is interrupted by news of a nearby kingdom being attacked by demonoids. Og calms everyone down by explaining that they have a group ready to fight the demonoids, and reveals that the hero Shin is the leader of this group. Furthermore, he is part of the group, and he explains that they all have worked hard to become stronger for this very moment. Og then wants Shin to give a good speech as well to put the people at ease, and asks that he names the group too. Shin feels like he has been put on the spot, but then vows to take down the demonoids with his group that he calls the ultimate magicians. Everyone is excited after his speech, and he closes it all out by levitating his group so they could fly off. At the kingdom of Earlshide, guards at the border signal that demonoids are approaching. It is decided that all civilians need to be evacuated, and the other guards are shocked to hear that there are at least 100 demonoids approaching. The guards use magic barriers to stop the demonoids' attack, but are disheartened when they realize that calls for help could take several days to work. Luckily for them, we see that Shin's group is quickly approaching as they make fun of the name Shin came up with. Shin defends himself by pointing out how much pressure he was under just as they nearly arrive at the kingdom. Miria is nervous to finally be facing the demonoids, but Shin assures her that they are now stronger than them. Shin instructs Sicilian to focus on healing the wounded and tells everyone else to pair up to fight demonoids. They can see that the kingdom is in bad shape as they approach. We see that civilians are being tormented, but Shin arrives just in time to save a couple. The demonoid is insulted that a mere human would think they could defeat a demonoid, but is stunned when Shin makes him disappear. Afterwards, Og makes a speech to everyone and explains that everyone should rest assured as they have assembled a team powerful enough to defend them. Furthermore, he warns the demonoids to give up now, as their group has the hero who defeats demonoids named Shin on their side. Shin then tells Sicilian to check on the wounded as she asks that he be careful, and we see that a demonoid had been watching them. Members of the Ultimate Magician group then encounter a demonoid who mocks them for being so young, and Alice must be calmed down as she gets too reckless when she is excited. Lynn explains that she instantly defeated the demonoid with her water attack anyway. Alice wonders if that was too brutal of a defeat for the demonoid, but Lynn explains that they shouldn't have mercy on them as they are no longer humans, and are causing a lot of pain throughout the kingdom. They quickly encounter another demonoid who once again calls Alice a child, but this time she unleashes her full force on him. Lynn and Alice then run off as they challenge one another to see who can defeat the most demonoids. Other group members battle demonoids as well, but efforts to gather information from them prove futile. However, after bringing one near death, he begins to talk. He explains that they attack because they are demonoids, and after having everything taken from them, all they could do was hate. They now hate those that are able to live in peace, but our group explained that they have no right to attack innocent civilians. Other Ultimate Magician members do well to show their power against the demonoids, as they rescue several people from the attack. Sicilian works hard to heal the injured, and we see that Shin is somewhere nearby, challenging any demonoid that wants to test his abilities. A demonoid watches nearby as he attempts to find Shin's weakness, but realizes that he might not even have one. Elsewhere, a demonoid recognizes Og as the prince, and explains that if he can defeat him, the leader of the Ultimate Magicians, then the rest will fall easily. Og explains that he isn't actually the leader of their group, but the demonoid is eager to defeat him anyway. Miria then attempts a sneak attack, but the demonoid blocks it and counters with a powerful strike. She knows all her bones would have been broken if it wasn't for Shin's magical gear. The demonoid then plans to attack where she isn't protected, but Miria attacks him before he can do so. The pair of magicians are shocked, however, when the demonoid reveals magical gear of his own. The demonoid explains that he had to kill the person wielding it, and the two recognize it as gear that Shin gave the military. The demonoid is more confident than ever and instructs them to give him all they have. He would come to regret these words though when the pair unleash a devastating barrage of attacks that destroy his magical gear. Miria insults the demonoid for losing concentration, which serves as a distraction that allows Og to finish him off. At the kingdom, the king can see that the fighting is dying down, and Merlin expresses relief to know that they won't be needed. Nearby, Zess's accomplice is shocked to find that Shin isn't the only ultra-powerful member of their group. Zess watches from outside the borders and is determined that Shin's power is way too far off the scale, as their mission is failing. His goal was to gauge Shin's power, but his demonoids are completely defeated and he wasn't able to gather much information. Zest is reluctant to abandon the mission though and decides to ask Strom's most trusted demonoid Miria to join the fight. She does massive damage just as Strom finally arrives and wonders why Zest has started something so much fun without him. Back inside, Sicilian does her best to heal the wounded, but struggles as she encounters people in worse and worse condition. Shin senses a strange magic power and we see that Miria is the source. A pair of our heroes arrive to save some soldiers from her attack and do their best to attack Miria. Alice goes a bit overboard with her attack once again, but Miria reappears to reveal that she is completely unaffected. Alice is captured and she warns Lynn to run away when she realizes just how powerful Miria is. Elsewhere, Demonoids sense that a powerful ally has arrived, but are disappointed to hear that they are being told to retreat. They can't understand why, but quickly find out when Shin appears dealing absurd amounts of damage. They begin their attempt to run away, but Shin uses his newest attack spell to show that they won't be able to get away so easily. Elsewhere, Shin's group arrive to help Alice, but quickly realize they are in big trouble. Miria demonstrates her immense power by handling the group easily. Knocking Lynn unconscious causes Alice to begin losing control, but she must stop herself to save Tony. Miria prepares to finish them off completely, but Shin arrives to get her attention. He is furious to see what has happened to his team, and Lynn warns that their opponent is not an amateur. Shin isn't concerned though, as he instructs Arya to heal the others. Miria thinks about how this is exactly what she wanted and begins fighting Shin to determine just how strong he is. It only takes a short moment for her to assess just how strong Shin is, as the rest of the team arrives. Miria prepares to leave as Shin can sense she is about to do something dangerous, and tells everyone to run. It's too late though, so he instructs Og to help him protect the team. Shin takes on the brunt of the damage but does stop the attack, and notices that the Demonoids have left. He apologizes to his team for letting the Demonoids escape and wonders what the point of the entire attack was. They all point out how strong Miria was and realize that things would have been much worse if Strom was part of the attack. Outside the kingdom, Miria explains how she was instructed to give the other Demonoids an opportunity to escape. Strom watches from above the failures run with their tails between their legs. He thinks about how things have gotten boring after he brought down the Empire, but Shin might be able to provide him with some entertainment. Inside the kingdom, Shin goes to check on Sicilian and instructs the others to help heal the wounded. Further in the building, Sicilian struggles to save someone, and eventually fails to do so, as she must explain to the deceased man's wife that healing magic can't heal everything. She isn't ready to give up as she wants to try giving him her gear to help. Shin arrives to explain that it won't work, but he will help the man instead. He thinks about how amazing Sicilian's healing is as the man is somehow still alive. Shin focuses on the intricacies of the healing as Og watches nearby in amazement and questions just how powerful Shin really is. Shin successfully heals the man and Sicilian becomes upset at how she can't compare to Shin and always ends up relying on him. Shin points out how the man lived as long as he did because of her, and shows her all the people that she managed to help on her own. Afterwards, the group accept praise from the king of the kingdom they saved, but express some concern. Og had originally thought that the attack was meant to be a diversion, but realizes that it isn't the case as nothing happened anywhere else. Furthermore, Shin is a clear threat to Strom, and it's hard for Og to believe that Strom wouldn't have predicted Shin's intervention in the attack of the kingdom. Og is uncertain of Strom's intentions though, and asks the king to form an alliance between their nations. Everyone is shocked to hear this, but the king understands the current danger, and offers to strongly consider the alliance. Afterwards, Shin wishes he could have used the gate to save the kingdom sooner, but the others remind him that he can only use gates to places he has already been. This makes Shin realize something that Og does as well, and the two decide that they need to save the world together. The group returns to their own kingdom to receive praise for pushing away the Demonoids. Og explains the alliance to his father and asks the king if he can serve as a negotiator with other nations. The king is very pleased with his son and he agrees to let him do so. Later, Shin explains what he feels he must do to Merlin and Melita, and they both agree that Shin should go on his journey to save the world. Og's fiancé and his sister May are allowed to join them, and the Ultimate Magician team is ready to leave for their adventure. At the Empire, Strom reminds his army leaders that he warned them about going up against Shin, but reveals that he was actually entertained by the attack. Zest thinks about whether or not to actually be grateful to Shin for giving their master a new purpose. Strom asks Miria about their other formal business, and she states that she will give him a report later, as she touches her stomach. At the kingdom, everyone bids farewell to the ultimate magicians as the group of heroes fly off to begin their journey. That night, Merlin and Melita point out how quiet and calm things are without the group there. Just then, a gate opens in the room as the group return complaining about how someone forgot to arrange for a place for them to stay, and Melita loses her cool when Shin asks if they can spend the night there. Thanks for watching part 4, all other parts will be in a pinned comment below.